Hi guys, I'm Charlie at Charlie Book Fanatic, and today I'm going to do my spoiler-free review for Daughter of Sand and Stone. I got this book as an e-arc for review from Lake Union Publishing, so thank you Lake Union Publishing. This book has already come out on December 1st, 2015. This book is about Zenobia, who is a really fierce woman, and she has to marry, but eventually her father dies, and she is a bit in the clear, at least she thinks so, but her sister Nafsha and her husband Antioch wants to marry her off to someone, but Zenobia doesn't want to get married, so she sets out to find her own husband, and she finds her husband in Odinatus, who is the governor of Palmyra, which lies in Syria, I think, and he accepts her as a second wife. She gets a son by him, and yeah, that's basically what the story is about. But Zenobia also falls in love with Zepdos, who is the general of the army, or at least he's going to be her general of the army later on. Honestly, I don't know what to consider a spoiler with this book, because I honestly forgot this book was historical fiction, but it was based on history. Like, Zenobia has really existed. Zepdos hasn't existed. That's like the Libbie Hawker's imagination, but Zenobia has really existed. She has really conquered these lands. She really had her own empire and all those things that so a lot of things in this book have actually happened in history, but I didn't know any of what happened. I didn't even know about Zenobia. Like, historians don't know much about Zenobia either. They only know very little, and Libbie Hawker took Zenobia and her history and made her own story out of that. So the plot was really fast paced. Like, I couldn't stop reading this book, to be honest. Like, in the beginning it was kind of slow, but when you progress through the book it was really fast paced. But I only set out to read like 50 pages a day, and eventually I was like, I want to read more, but no, I really want to read other stuff too, so I can't read too much of this. And I really wanted to read on. It was going so fast, like everything was happening after each other. Eventually, when the story progressed, like there had to be some world building at first, of course, and Zenobia had to be introduced, and her family, and Zapdos, and all of the characters, like. But eventually, when Zenobia starts to conquer the lands, it's going really fast paced, and it's very much an exploration of Zenobia the queen, the fierce ruler, and it's not really focused on plot, it's more focused on characters. I have to say, all of the characters in this book were likeable to me, and even if they were not supposed to be likeable, I still liked them. Zenobia and Zapdos were both amazing characters. Like, I loved Zenobia. Zenobia was an amazing heroine. She was fierce, she was ambitious, she was arrogant, but I loved that about her. I loved that she was way beyond her time and wanted to be a queen and didn't want to be dependent of a man, and I love that she wants to be her own person and not another half of a man, you know? Like, she wants to have her own lands. She didn't want to bow down to the Roman Empire. She wants her own empire, and she fought for that. And I absolutely loved Zapdos. Zenobia met Zapdos when he chased her through a desert, and he eventually helped her, and from that moment on he stuck with her, like not in real history but in the book, but he stuck with her and he never left her. He was always with her. He became eventually her general, and wait, Zepdos has really existed. Oh my god, what am I saying? Zepdos has existed. He was really the general of her army, but they hadn't had a romance. At least that's not what is known from history, but Zepdos has really existed. I'm sorry. But they had this amazing romance as well, and I loved that. Most, like, they kissed one time, and 7 years after that they hadn't had any romantic interactions at all, because Zenobia felt like she wanted to be queen more than she wants to love Zapdos, and that couldn't go together. And when it finally happened, it was so amazing, and I was really rooting for them. But honestly, all of the characters in this book were amazing, even the side characters. And I want to particularly mention Aurelian, which was eventually an emperor of the Roman Empire, and I loved him. Honestly, he seemed like such an honourable man. Like, he wanted to conquer these lands, and he wanted to take his lands back, but he seemed like such an honourable and funny and kind man, even though he had to do those things. There's also another character, which is Feruza, which is the other wife of Odinatus, and eventually I didn't like her in the beginning, but when the novel progressed, I came to like her more and more, and I came to care for her like I did for all of these characters, to be honest. I really cared about all of them. I wanted a happily ever after for all of them, but that's not what's going to happen, obviously. For world building, there were a lot of descriptions. There were a lot of descriptions for the desert, which was where most of the story took place, and I love the descriptions. I love the descriptions about the desert. I loved the desert. I adored it. This book made me want to read more books about deserts, because I don't read any books like that normally, but oh my god, it was so exciting, and I loved it. I loved them riding on camels through the desert. Like, it was so good. I love the descriptions. About the heat, I wanted to read all of it. I didn't skip any of it. I just read it all, and I loved it. But honestly, it was all interesting. All the description was interesting about these lands and how they looked and their buildings, and everything was interesting, and it was also all well researched. Like, Libbie knows what she's talking about, and I don't know if she's a real historian or not. I think she is, to be honest, but she writes historical books constantly about ancient civilizations. But she is an amazing author, one, and she's an amazing historian as well. Like, at the end of the book, there was some author's notes, and there were all of these notes where she took her research from, and where she got all the information from, and what was true and what was not true in history, and what happened in the book and what didn't happen in history. And I love that. I love reading that as well. And then looking up for myself, like, what happened really in history, and what happened in the book. The writing style for this book was so lovely. It honestly made me cry. Like, there was a quote in this book, I think it was this book. There were just so many quotes actually in this book. It just made me cry. Like, there were things happening in this book that made me cry, and that was just because of the way they were written. Like, it's not really a special writing style or anything. It's not poetic, it's not flowery or anything like that, but it's real, it's raw, it's honest, and it made me cry so hard. This book had a fast-moving plot, and there really was a plot. Like, it was more about Zenobia's life, but that was the plot, you know? The thing that happened in Zenobia's life was the plot. Like, conquering the lands, having all of these obstacles in the way, that was the plot for the whole book, and it was really captivating and really great. The book had amazing characters which I really came to care about, and I honestly still think about them, and I still want the best for them, but the ending was so good, by the way, guys. The ending was so good. It made me cry. It was realistic. It was really, really realistic. And honestly, I could still cry about it. But it was realistic. I can't say anything else about that because I would spoil it for you. And this is a super interesting world with amazing writing. Like, this world, this ancient civilization, I loved it. I love reading about the Roman Empire and the emperors and the empress. And yes, I think I'm going to read more of Libbie Harker's books because she writes about ancient civilizations, and this book really made me want to know more about these civilizations because I basically know absolutely nothing about them. So overall, I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Like, you can think, why don't you give it 5 out of 5 stars if you're so enthusiastic about it? But I can explain that. That is because it was slow in the beginning, and I really wasn't sure if I wanted to continue on with the book. I'm going to be honest, I don't like slow going books. I'm not good with that. But when the book really started going faster and progressing, I was like, yes, this is what I need. This is what I've been waiting for. This was an amazing book to start the year with. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough. So 4 out of 5 stars. So this is my review for Daughter of Sand and Stone. Let me know down below what you think about this book. What did you think of my review? Do you want to read this book? Have you read this book? Then let me know down below as well. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.